today's episode, we got a very special guest for you, man. Your bud Tevin. And Tevin, man, tell him how you been, tell him what you got going on, and where they can find you at.
What's going on? This is definitely the first take. No, you can find me. You can find me at YourBudTevin everywhere. I run the brand. The brand is strong. I'm doing good. I'm chilling.
That's what's up. We also got our co-host in the building, K. Dot the God and Bake Lake. Let them know where they can find you at.
Man, y'all gonna find me at K the God everywhere and anywhere for all your godly needs and all your anime needs. Go ahead and tell them where you at, Lake.
You can find me Big Lake on Twitch and Lil Big Lake on Instagram.
All right, so Tevin, my first question is, it's generic, same thing everybody always get. How did you get your start as a content creator, and did you envision yourself doing this for a living, or did it just kind of fall into your lap?
How did I get started? Okay, so growing up, I've kind of just always been into it. It's just kind of been my identity. It's kind of always been like what I've rocked with. I know a lot of people talk about like how they wanted to do other things, or they wanted to like transition into whether they were like actors or comedy or whatever, and they were like, oh, YouTube's a good vehicle to gain a larger following. But YouTube was kind of always the end goal for me. When it came out in 2005, I was one of like the first people on the app or the website, and it just kind of became an obsession. Like I always was just playing computer games and watching YouTube at the same time, and I was always into video games and anime. Like my dad showed me anime at like 6 when he showed me Dragon Ball Z, and he always used to play PlayStation 1. And fun fact, actually, my dad still is a bigger anime fan to this day. Like he'll call me and talk to me about webtoons and stuff like that. stuff I'm not even like in the cut for. Whatever Ghost King is, if it gets popular later on, then you'll know that my dad, he found it first. He found solo leveling like 6 years ago.
Damn.
But those things have always just kind of been who I am, and so I always wanted to do it. As far as envisioning it as a career, I mean, yeah, like this is what I wanted to do, and it's funny that I always try to explain to people like this is like my everything. This was my end goal. This was what I wanted to do, like with my whole life. People from like middle school and high school you could ask that, everybody wanted me to like do something with my life kind of thing. I'm sure everybody here has got that. It's like, you're so smart, you could go do whatever you wanted to do. It's like, well, this is what I want to do. Like, how is this less than whatever? But back then the market was so small, it was like only how many people actually get to be YouTubers? It's like, yeah, I'm gonna be one of them. Like I always kind of had that belief.
Yeah.
But it was hard. Like there were times where I probably should have quit. Like a reasonable human being would have quit. But this is kind of all that ever mattered to me. So made it work.
What was your breakout moment from YouTube?
I used to be a professional, like an esports player, basically.
Okay,
that was like my earliest start.
Yeah, okay.
Well, actually, my earliest start is like you're a kid, you're uploading. I started with Call of Duty stuff, and then that didn't work. Minecraft became big. I started doing Minecraft. That didn't work. And so I really wanted to get into esports first because the avenue for YouTube wasn't as concrete. But like with like MLG and stuff and Halo being big and COD being big, I was like, oh, I can go that route. So I first started on Mortal Kombat 9. I wasn't that great at it. Like I was good, but I wasn't good enough. And then I took a long break from that. Dragon Ball FighterZ came out, and that's when I actually left. I left college, and I had 6 credits left, and I was like, I think I can make it on as a fighting game player and a YouTuber. So I'd upload my videos and my clips and stuff like that, and I was going to tournaments. I was pretty good. I got top 32, almost top 32 at Winter Brawl at the very first Dragon Ball FighterZ tournament. And then I got top 96 at Combo Breaker, and there was like 1,000-something entrants on that one. So, but then it just wasn't working out. I didn't have no money. I was broke. And so I went into Apex Legends, where a lot of people know me from. And I was the number 1 Octane for a little bit. Like when Octane dropped, I was the number 1 player for that.
Damn, I did not know that.
I was a very, very good Apex player. That's how I met like all the Apex guys, like all the TSM guys were pretty close. Like, well, not all of them. Touche is like my big homie, but like Dre and a lot of people that people know in the Apex scene. Like that's how I know them. And then Apex didn't work out. Like I wasn't getting any pull from that. And I was like, okay, I'm broke. I'm in school, but I hate it. I got nothing. So I'm gonna leave. I'm giving it all up. I'm gonna put 150% of my whole body and soul into YouTube. If I cannot make it work in 5 months, it was January at the time, I will quit. I will never ever come back to this because I was under a lot of financial pressure. My family fell out because like they couldn't support me anymore, and it was like, you're not doing anything for your life. Like, why should we, kind of thing? And it's like it was a very big struggle. Like I told y'all before, I was only eating hot dogs, chips, and ramen for like every day, and whatever my roommate was making. Shout out to my best friend Hayden. So I sat down for like 2 weeks. Every single day, all I'd ever do was get up and get something to eat, something to drink, come back and start researching. And Persona was a game that I was playing super heavy on, like on my own time. And when I was watching YouTube at the time, I was watching Senza and I was watching Mitten Squad, who they did challenge runs based on Elder Scrolls, Fallout, and what was the other one that he did that was like real popular? It was like Doom or something like that. And I was like, I wonder if Persona could do that. Because Pokemon was kind of getting on the wave, and I did my research. Only one other person was doing it, and Yarley was doing it at the time. And I was like, he didn't do the one I was doing. Let me see if I can make this work. And it took me about 2 weeks of like every single day editing it, playing it. And I posted it February 15th, 2020. I'll never forget that date. And I went out to eat for my friend's birthday, and I came back and it had 100 views. I had 63 subscribers. And I was like, I was Birdman hand rubbing a little bit. I was like, okay. I fell asleep. I woke up the next day, had 1,000 views. I was like, okay, it's time to work on the next one. By the time I got the next one out, it had like 20 or 30,000 views, and I was like, oh yeah, it's time to go. It's time to go.
I couldn't even imagine that. I could not.
So I was the Persona guy after that.
All right, so leading to my next question. So you just transitioned from being a pro fighting game player to basically a pro Apex player to being known for Persona. So how does all that transition to being known for the drinking games? Like, how did that happen?
I'm just desperate.
Yeah.
One of my favorite quotes is desperation breeds innovation. When you're at your lowest, you'll actually come up with your best idea.
Yep.
Like,
That is facts.
if you have
That
to
is
go get
facts.
it, like, you gotta go get it. Like,
Yeah.
you will come up with a fire idea.
I swear to God.
So I was doing really well with Persona. I had like 50K after the first year, but I was just doing it every day. And anybody that knows Persona, it's a long game. It's 100 hours to beat. If you're quick, you could easily sink 200, 300 hours into it. It would take me, I got it down to 40 because I'd played the game. I think I've beaten the game more than anybody that's not a speedrunner. I've beaten the game like 85 times, 86 times. So it's gotten to the point where I could do it with my eyes closed. Well, not with my eyes closed, but I could look at another screen and not even be paying attention. And so I was fed up. The fan base wasn't really hitting with me. My jokes weren't landing. I wanted to do more. I never wanted to be held as like one kind of guy. Even now, I don't want to be held as one kind of guy. So I wanted to get more into events, and I was watching a Cold Ones video. And I was like, dude, the drinking game, the edits that they do, the stuff they get to do is so funny. And so I was like, man, drinking game would be fire. I wonder if anybody's ever done like a show drinking game. And I looked it up. Nobody even done a show drinking game. But that was like too broad. I was like, how do Persona people... How are Persona people going to want to watch a drinking game? And I was like, I don't know. Maybe I could try doing Pokemon stuff. Pokemon stuff didn't hit. I was like, okay, I'm cooked. Like, I have no other avenue. I'm stuck as a Persona guy. I'm going to have to quit. During the research, randomly out of the blue, the Persona 5 animation dropped. And I was like, oh, this is it. But I needed more than just me to drink with. Drinking by itself is kind of lame. And like every other person had or every other channel had like a second person or a special guest or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of wanted to take one from Hot Ones where I had like a main group, but also guests. So the only other guy that I was rocking with doing Persona stuff at the time, and he didn't even really do Persona, it was just a video he did, Embedded Repose. And so I was like, hey man, I want to do this. We've been talking about Lincoln. Do you want to do it? He was like, yeah, absolutely. And Misinformed was another really cool guy that I was watching a fan of at the time. I was like, hey, I'm this up and coming YouTuber. He had like 130,000. I think 50,000 at the time, just about 50,000. I was like, hey, do you want to do this? And he was like, yeah, sure. And I was like, oh, thank God. We met that weekend for the first time, and that very first time is the very first Persona 5 drinking game. And that one popped. That one did like crazy numbers.
That's
And
crazy.
we had Repose edit it because he edits all of them. So if you've seen like our best ones, like Repose edits those, which just goes to show how good of an editor he is. But he's also a really good co-host and a great friend.
So let me ask you a question, right? When you do the drinking game, are you taking shots or are you sipping?
So everybody gets a misconception that I'm drinking hard the whole time.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
what I told
we-
people.
we
That's what I
had
told
a
people. Like, he's
video,
not
right?
drinking hard liquor, man. He'll die.
We was watching your video, and I said, "Yo, if he's taking shots right now, he's done for." I think it was the B movie thing we were just watching, right? What was we watching before he came in? I think it was that.
Which I was watching.
Yeah. So what's your method of doing it? Do you know? And what's your favorite kind of drink?
The main premise of the drinking game is not to see how fast I could die. I don't know when this kind of confusion happened. The main thing is to get with your homies and have a drink and watch a good show. That's always been what it was. So how it generally starts is from 0 to about 10, I will take heavy drinks, usually shots, or I will I'll usually mix a drink, and the first drink is usually very heavy. Like I'll put a lot of liquor in it. After that, it really depends on how fast those 10 drinks got taken. If I have a really hard one, like the Johnny Test one or the B-movie one or Pokemon, I'm pulling back hard real quick. It's going to turn into sips, or the drinks are going to be a lot more diluted. If it's a simple one like, what was like the first Ghost Stories or regular show, one of those, where I'm only drinking like 30 times, I'm tolerant enough nowadays where I can just keep drinking heavy. Like if I'm only going to do 30, I might as well, get to the point where I'm feeling it pretty quickly. But like nobody is drinking 400 shots. Like what human is doing that? Like,
because they told me, right? They was like, when they first told me you was coming on the show, they was like, yeah, man, you should drink with him. And I've seen your content. I said, hell no. I ain't even going front. I bought the bottle and all that, bro. But then I said, no, wait.
Not the Henny.
Yeah, Bake was telling me. Bake was like, yo, you should drink with him. I'm like, no way in hell I'm drinking with that man. Because when I was watching your content, I'm like, yo, if he's taking shots, my God.
Well, what a lot of people don't know is I'm allergic to beer. So I've always had a high tolerance because before seltzers became a wave, I'd only drink liquor. Like it was only liquor for me my whole life. Beer makes my throat close up, makes my skin hot. So like I was a frat boy, so I came in with a very high tolerance.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So and then like this has only ruined it. Like I haven't had a drink in 2 months. I have a drink game tomorrow. Guarantee you, like it won't. No, I might have like a little bit of a like rust, but I could still probably. No one has. I think only one person's outdrank me or like kept up with me the whole series, and that's some ordinary gamers, Muda Hard. Everybody else, I haven't had an issue with. The speed at which we're doing it, it makes it the video makes it look like it's fast, like, but you really don't understand. Oh, we're drinking for like 3-4 hours.
Right.
It's the endurance.
And it's
Y'all got endurance.
Like, and you gotta talk, you gotta be present, you gotta be talking. I welcome. I mean, I'm not gonna say like I hold the crown for drinking because there's got like shoe nices out there somewhere scaring me. You know what I'm saying? He drink whole bottles of tequila. Like I'm not gonna do that.
No.
But
we might have to test you on that one, man.
Real
the Voice
talk,
of the Heroes
dude.
cast might have to pull up.
Anybody is welcome. I'm not gonna walk away. I gotta hold the title.
All right. Well, that leads me to my next question then. Out of all the drinking games, what was the worst one in terms of how drunk? The best one, and then give me some memorable moments as well.
Okay, so the hardest one is the most obvious one. It was the Johnny Test drinking game, which it doesn't own the record for the most drinks I've had, but the speed at which I drank this was unparalleled. Like I had 200. I mean, someone's gonna have to fact check. It was like 221 in 11 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
Off the whip
And
cracks?
Off the whip cracks. And I was like, I thought that seltzers would help, but it makes it worse. You actually get drunk faster off of seltzers because the sugar content, especially the ones that I drink, because they taste real good. And so I was just blasted hard. Like maybe like 4 minutes in, we hit 100, and I was like, oh my god.
Oh
like,
my gosh.
everything beyond that was just more of an endurance test. It wasn't funny. Like the video, how we shortened it is hilarious. If you watch that VOD, you'll be like, man, this is painful to watch. Because like I'm sitting there taking like 10 seconds to drink, and I'm sitting there praying. Like it's not good.
You never made a bloopers reel out of it?
No. A lot of the stuff we cannot post. You don't know what you say when you drunk. Like there's so much shit. Like think about, if you watch my stuff, think about what we do include, and think about what we can't include. You know what I mean? Like just go watch. We do have a Patreon where we have extended cuts where we really let it fly. But even then, there's stuff we have to cut because we like
it gets crazy.
It get crazy as hell.
For example, like we talked about like bombing government houses one time for like 30 minutes, like full segments where we were looking at people's addresses and shit, and like we would bomb this government official on a Tuesday in September. We don't advocate for that. Like it was bad. It was bad. We talk about, there's a Mr. Beast one coming out where we just talk about what if Mr. Beast turned into like Pornhub, where it's like fuck a fan, and he had like a bang bus, and he was giving money to like
oh my
oh yeah. No, I gotta get drunk with Tevin. I gotta get drunk with Tevin.
It gets bad because we just don't care. Like the whole point is just like see how your favorite content creators act when they like, start letting loose to see behind the veil. So it's a nightmare. The hardest to edit, we actually had one that didn't come out for like, we had 2 that didn't come out for a year and a half.
Damn.
Because the editing process was so bad. Like we have to fight copyright really hard. A lot of people watch the whole video and did it. Well, we edit, like my editors go through it. They upload maybe 20 versions of the drinking game before one gets cleared. And they have to edit, keep adding animations and zoom ins and all this nonsense. You might not see it, but like that's why I have a team of like 13, 14 editors. And they each take like a month or 2 to get the dream game done from the time we record it to the time it goes out. So like the regular show one, it took a full year and some change to get that one out. And it was still really rough because the audio was super scuffed, and that was my fault. And then the Minions one that just came out, we tried to drop that when the Minions movie was in theaters, the new one. And so it was like a full, I think that was last June, and it came out in like March. Wow. So yeah, that was the hard one to edit. Memorable moments. I have a ton.
Give us a good one. Give us one for the books.
My favorite is Shin-Chan. It's my favorite dream game. Still.
I know exactly.
Or the Yu Yu Hakusho one, because I had Berlizzi and Afro Senju, and that was like a very personal win for me. Because
that was actually the first one I seen too.
Yeah, they've never collabed, so it was cool that I was the medium to make that happen. And there were 2 big idols, and I had recently become like friends with them, and I was like, I really fucked with them like super heavy. So I wanted to share that, and it was honestly as fun as it was. It looked to make. Like we spent like 5 hours talking afterwards. But Shin-Chan is by far my favorite because of the lead up to it and how stupid it was. Because we tried to record it like 5 straight weeks, and if you guys don't know, I'm bipolar. So when I go through depressive moments, or like my bipolar is on the low end, it's very hard to make content. You can't drink and be cool and happy. You'd be like, you know what I'm saying? So like 2 weeks in a while, I had to reschedule. I was like, I can't do it today. And finally, we had one day where I was just like, I still wasn't feeling it, but I was fed up, and I was like, fuck it, we're recording it right now. And like we got drunk before we even recorded, or I did at least. And the whole time we were not talking about the show. Like we might have recorded that night for like 6.5 hours. It was one of the longest recordings, and the whole time we are not talking about it. And the funniest part about it is there's this one part, we kept it in there. Still to this day, my favorite quote, but we're talking about how one of the characters in Shin-Chan sounds like Marge Simpson. And we're talking about the fucking Chaos Emeralds or something. and he brings up that old tweet, that meme where he's like, Obama chuckled, you mean the Chaos Emeralds? And it's like it's complete nonsense. Like, right? Like you're trying to spin it in your head, like, how are all these things connected? And so we're talking about the Chaos Emeralds, and I start cracking up, and I do a Marge Simpson impression of Sonic the Hedgehog talking about the Chaos Emeralds, and we start laughing so hard. None of it had anything to do with the show, but we're so blasted. Everybody's so fucked up. And like the whole time the whole recording, we're like, this is the worst one. This will never make it out. This is dumb as hell. We can't drop this. And we're just laughing about it. Those moments are way funnier to me. The segments where we go off the cuff and we're not even talking about the show anymore. Those are the moments that end up making it and end up being the funniest. I asked one time, nah, never mind. I can't. I don't even think I can. I can't even drop it. But I asked about like I was being so serious, but I asked a very sexual joke, and like everybody was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And I was like, "No, I'm serious. Like, can we talk about it?" They're like, "Oh, shut the fuck up! Like, what the hell?" And that's in the Ghost Stories one. Any longtime fan of mine will know exactly what I'm talking about. But I don't want to repeat it because it was a little over the line. But there's always a memorable moment. Every single drink game I've done has a great moment.
That's fucking gas, man. Oh man. All right. Okay. So like you said, the most recent one was the beer drinking game, right? How did you come up with that one? What were the rules? And then how many drinks did you end up taking? Because I seen the infamous clip at the end where they were in the courtroom and everybody was screaming B and you just like your face just dropped. So like, could you talk about that?
Yeah, spoiler alert, I didn't end up taking all those drinks. I obviously would have died. But the B movie one came about in a pretty interesting way because drinking games are, I mean, you can kind of get a feel for them. People want to see you kind of sweat. They want to see you, struggle. Once you've done a couple of them, they're like, dang, this guy can drink. I wonder what the limit is. The Johnny Test one was honestly my ultimate frontier. I was like, when I hit the pinnacle, I originally saved it for 1 million subs. Because I was like, this is going to be the hardest one I ever do. And to this day, it's still the hardest one I've ever done. But I was like, the B movie was also in contention because I know that it's a big meme. Like the B movie is just a big meme movie. Like it's like up there with like Shrek and The Room and shit. Like you guys know what I'm talking about. So I knew that the potential for it was really high, and I know they said B a lot in the movie. So I was like, there's a lot of people that haven't seen my content who would be very interested in that. It actually expands beyond my audience. So I just put the tweet out there one day, and I was like, hey. I blew up on the Johnny Test one. If you guys, it blew up on Twitter. Like, I was shocked. Yeah. And so I was like, you know what? I'll follow it up. If I get, I think I said 50K followers. I had like 25K. I did not think it was going to happen. I was like, if I get 50K followers in like a month, I'll do the B movie. And I got up to like 43 in like a week. And I was like, wow. It died down, but I was like, you know what? These people followed me for that specific reason. I don't want them to like jump ship, on some flake shit. So I was like, you know what, I'll do it because that is a huge game, and so that's how it ended up coming about. How many drinks did I actually drink? I think it was like, if you were actually in that stream, you'll know it lasted 5 hours and some change, which sucked. That sucks. Drinking by yourself for that long, and trying to be funny that long, and being drunk that long is a nightmare, especially in this hot ass room. And my audio crashed. I had to set up a new mic, so I literally like had to sober myself up, fix a bunch of audio issues, come back. Sucked. I think I had 200. I want to say it was like 240 something.
What was you drinking that night?
Oh, I have my own signature drink. It's called the Tevin. You have
that's fire.
Brown apple and cranberry, which is like, everybody has that, but you add a little bit of Sprite. Just a Sprite, just to have some kick.
Tevin is crazy. That's kind of fire.
That's definitely dope. You ever thought about branding into like the liquor business or something like that?
I cannot say.
So how do you deal with folks think you a white man when you say nigga on stream or during the video, bro? Because I know you be sick of it. Like,
I mean, the main thing is like I've never hid my identity, bro. Like I've never hid like I said when I even from my very first Persona video, I think like I said, I had a Pop Smoke reference in there. Like I was never hid who I was. Like the whole point of me making content was to find people that were like me.
mm-hmm.
Well, and you can't choose the audience.
Right.
I found out the hard way. So like in Persona, they were very confused because I do, especially back then, my script, I have a very stereotypical articulation. You know what I'm saying? Like he's not black because he's not fucking putting slang and shit on things. He's not using AAVE or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, and granted, I'm not black. I'm half white. You caught me. You know what I'm saying? My mom is white. You did get me a little bit, but like I grew up with my black family. Like I was raised. My mom worked night shift, so my black aunt, babysat me for the first like 12 years of my life. And so people call me white. There's like a full thread of just all the times I've been like, why is this? What? I love the video, but why is he saying the N-word? It's like, what are you talking about? Hello? I got like reverse video game donkey, where it's like everyone thought I was white and I ended up being black. I kind of take it on the chin because it's easy to mistake. I am like one shade from white. Like I understand that I'm not like a Kelly Oubre light skin where it's like, oh, you're more black. But I'm not gonna like stop being myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, I grew up with niggas. I'm like, you know what I'm saying? I went through the same shit. I drank from that same cup. I got that same Tupperware with the spaghetti stains on it that you can't wash out. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the same shit. Like,
definitely talk to him.
It's never gonna change like who I am, and it sucks from both angles. Like, the bigger you get, the more I've gotten it from like both sides, where it's like niggas who don't know me will be like, who see me like interact with like Rage or Mark or whoever or RDC, they're like, can you even say that? And it's like, bro, what would I would I say it if I
yeah,
would I let it fly on Twitter if I didn't think I could say it? Like, come on, bro, use your brain. But it sometimes it does suck. Like the identity crisis does suck as like a light-skinned person because you don't want to impose, you know what I'm saying? I don't have the same issues that dark-skinned, like full black people face. I do have privileges, right? I can jump the fence whenever I want to. But at the same time, being able to jump the fence means nobody ever wants you to stay. You know what I'm saying? I'm always invited, but I'm never allowed to stay. Nobody ever, you're black until you agree with somebody white's point, and now you're not black enough. You're allowed to be white until you act too black, and now you're not white anymore. So like that's when you start having issues. Like the W community, the black community, like whenever I have issues with them, they're like, oh, you ain't black anyway. And it's like, okay, well, where was the line drawn for me?
Yeah,
that's the only time I really have like a serious issue with it because I'm cool otherwise. You know what I'm saying? I try not to overimpose. I try to use my voice to mend things and be honest about the conversations that like we have to have about like systemic racism, like the oppressions that black people face on Twitch. But I also have to be honest and be like, when are you using the inch that people give you and try to take them off from it and end up hurting the cause as a whole? The accountability that has to be had on both sides. That's the only time it really becomes a struggle because no one ever wants to listen to a light-skinned dude about black and white politics.
Damn. Boy,
That
just
was
got
deep.
deep.
That was definitely
Yeah,
deep,
man, just got deep.
I want to ask you something, right? Back in the day when it came to the culture that we know today, as far as like anime, Marvel, DC, the MCU, things like that. When you was growing up, like I know, like in school, certain kids wasn't really rocking with the mangas, comic books, and all. They thought that was kind of weird. How do you feel like now that it's like oversaturated now in this type of media space, where like now everybody's getting into it? Do you feel a kind of way being like one of the OGs who then you was yourself and now today you see everybody trying to like get into that field?
Pretty blessed actually, because I was a very popular kid. I was the smartest person in my school and stuff like that. Not even to like got enough braggadocious shit, but everybody kind of just agreed with what I was talking about. So when I said something was cool, like people were not, they didn't want to like,
guessing it.
they didn't want to. I was very self confident in who I was, so I never let anybody like tell me that something wasn't cool. Like I was big. I used to come to school in a Spider-Man onesie with the webbings and arms. Like, don't tell me Spider-Man wasn't hard because I can show you 50 different examples of him doing the coolest shit you've ever seen. You know what I mean? And I was big into Dragon Ball Z. And when I was a kindergartner, bro, Zoids was my shit. And only like real ones would know. Like little kid, I come home from school, it would be Zoids into Dragon Ball Z into Yu Hakusho, back to back. And like I was really always heavy into it. So nobody ever gave me flack for it. And so when anime came up, I never had the issue of being like, oh, you know, I'm not no Mike Jones shit. Like back then they didn't want me. Now I'm hot. Like everybody that fucked with me eventually got into anime, or we just knew that it wasn't for them and they just never got into it. Like the only time I ever really feel disrespected for people that watch anime is when they get into it and then immediately think they can become the authority on it. I don't like authority figures on anything, but people that are entry level anime watchers try to gatekeep, especially women. That shit bothers me, dog. Because there's a lot of women fans of like that are deep in the cut in anime, like deep in the cut. We'll show you some shit you've never seen before.
Yeah.
And you're sitting around watching goddamn Gurren Lagann for the first time, and you think you have the hearsay to talk to her about something, and it's like, bro, like shut up. Like anybody can watch anything.
Yep.
And even my shonen watchers, if you only watch shonen, I fuck with you because shonen's hard. Like shonen is hard. We love that shit. I could watch the pain fight 40 billion times. And I swear to God, damn, this was hard again. But you know what I'm saying? If somebody's watching Yuri on Ice and you're telling them that's fake anime, you're super whack.
You're part of the problem.
If you're watching a certain scientific railgun and somebody who's watching fucking Boruto, like you're whack. You're super whack for trying to say that the mainstream anime is the only anime. And vice versa. If someone only fucks with Dragon Ball Z and you're on their head because they didn't watch Is It Wrong to Sleep with My Stepsister's Cousin on a Tuesday if the lights are out?
Shit. I hate that.
You're a weirdo. You're a weirdo. People get to enjoy whatever they want to enjoy, and they have communities specifically catered for that. You know what I'm saying? You're not a part of that community because that's not who you are. Just enjoy the community that you have and enjoy anime as like a larger catalyst to bring people together. Like, it's very simple. I mean, obviously, people are always going to want to have comparisons. I personally hate power scalers. Any single time I've ever talked to he actually can't beat him because he moves at the speed of light. Shut the fuck up. I've already clocked out.
You did that shit on Twitter.
Yeah, bro. I don't care. I'm already gone. I'm already done with the conversation.
That goes into the next conversation, man. I want to get your take on
That's
this.
so
right?
stupid, bro.
We all hear about the big three or the big, the heads of anime, right? So you got Bleach, you got Dragon Ball, you got Naruto, you have One Piece. What anime you feel is underrated and deserves to be in that like category with those heavy hitters?
World Trigger.
World Trigger?
World Trigger.
Oh, you gotta put me on because I
World Trigger kind of gas, bro.
Don't kill me in the chat. Don't kill me in the chat.
That's kind of gas.
World Trigger?
Yeah, I think it's in like a tier B category. Like a lot of people know about it, but I know people wrote it off because the first season animation was dodgy. It wasn't good. But every single season, the animation got way better. And I'm not a big fan servicey kind of guy. Like too much titties in a show. I'm be like, at this point, I'm kind of over it. You know what I'm saying? I'm a big fan of titties, and you making me a little irritated right now. I just want to see somebody scrap, or I want to just see the plot progress. You know what I'm saying? There's a point where titties get in the way. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to meet your personality at this point, and you're not showing me. So, this one was the first one that like didn't have a lot of fan service, but it's still like a great show with like great development, and it's so strategic. It is the first anime that I really got into where the fights are they're not won because of who can like power up or level up more. It's how well they plan the fight out. People that are way better can lose because they were just prepped for you, and people that are way better than you can show their dominance because of how well they prepped for you. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
So it really like it's a good anime. Though.
It is, bro.
And the name of it is World Trigger.
World Trigger, yes.
Definitely, I'm gonna have to check that out. So now, out of the ones that I mentioned, Bleach, Naruto, One Piece, and which one was the other one? Bleach, Naruto, One Piece, and Dragon Ball Z. One will have to go. Period. Out of existence. Why? Which one would you pick?
It has
and why?
to leave existence.
Forever.
Yeah, never happened. One of them got to go. One of them got to kick the bucket.
I mean, the most negligible, the one that would have like the least impact is Bleach, just because it's not as super duper popular as the other ones. But man, I'm getting real One Piece because of the fandom, dog.
Just because the fans.
Yo, don't kill us on this show. No lie, you're like
Come at me.
guest that said One Piece.
At YourbudTevin.
Oh God, at me.
I want smoke from One Piece fans.
He want the smoke.
They're annoying. Like, okay, you listen. I read. There's a stream I had for a full week.
That was my next question.
Every single chapter of One Piece, in a row, nonstop, from 1 to 1,000, like 70 or something like that, or 1,000 where the anime was like 25, and I loved it. I had a great time. My dad's favorite anime is One Piece and Bleach. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't hate the show. It's a top 10, top like 8 for me. I genuinely love One Piece. It's very long. I don't recommend anybody go from beginning to end until it's finished because it's wrapping up. But I loved it. I had a great time, had great moments. Sanji's backstory had me fucking bawling. I can't even think about it. But I can't. It was like I couldn't enjoy it the way I wanted to. Every single time somebody was in my shit talking about you gotta watch this part, or you gotta like this, you gotta like this, and I could not get away from it. I was like, is there a One Piece group where I could just chill and talk about how hard shit was? Couldn't get away from it. It was so annoying. And like that shit has started to happen everywhere. It's the worst of One Piece fans, but Chainsaw Man spoiler fans hate them. And I love Chainsaw Man. JJK spoiler fans hate them. Don't get me started. One Piece would go strictly for fans.
All right, so now you spoke about Chainsaw Man, JJK. Out of the new gen animes, because we got a couple that came out, Dragon Ball Z. Which ones do you think have the most potential to crack that top 5 animes?
I don't agree that it should be there, but if I was speaking realistically, Demon Slayer is going to be the one to do that. It's a very friendly avenue to get into anime. It's very simple plot line. Motherfucking demons. Demon fucked your family up. I gotta go kill these demons.
Yeah.
It's a very straightforward plot line. Even the manga was written very straightforward about like how he trained, he leveled up, how he got to be as strong as he was. You know, the hidden like lore behind it, and who Tanjiro is becoming, and how the whole world is built. So it's a very like friendly avenue for people. Solo leveling, I know the anime hasn't dropped yet, but if it follows the pacing correctly,
it's kind of gay.
It has a crazy chance to be in that mode, in that way, because he's just hard.
He's him, bro.
Jin Woo is
him.
He's different. It's hard for me to place what's going to be in the big 3 because you never know how like fans are going to react. I personally, it gets a lot of weird hate and people think it's not good, but JJK's writing from here on out, if the anime follows the manga, is nuts.
Yeah.
Like from Shibuya incident into culling, the culling arc, into where it goes after that is like, people are not ready for the Shibuya arc by itself. And it like never stops after that. Like the having unbeatable characters like Gojo is hard. But anime that is not focused on one central character. I know that we talk about Yuji, but he's not like he's a main character, but he's not the one. Like there's an entire world, right? I really appreciate anime like that, and they don't pull punches. Like shit sucks. Y'all remember the first season where everybody thought Buddy was gonna survive and join the team.
Yep.
And he got turned into like a big frog or some shit like that. like they're like, damn, like this sucks. I like anime like that.
How did it feel to be chosen for the HyperX Queued Up, and what did it mean to you and your content?
When I first got the email, I was geeked because I'll say this, and I don't want this to come across conceited and disrespectful because I know a lot of people will take it that way. But for somebody with the numbers and like the sort of reputation that I have from an outsider standpoint, you would think that I have a lot more connections
Yeah.
when I just don't. Like
Yeah.
I feel like my name is somewhat disrespected because I like to play both sides. Like I work with a lot of like white content creators, and I'll work with like a lot of black content creators. And because I never follow a niche, my audience isn't super strong, and a lot of people just don't know about me. Like I had to fight really hard for a lot of the collabs that I worked with, and a lot of people didn't want. A lot of people like told the creators that came on not to work with me. So
That's
it was
crazy.
like it was
Yeah, that's
like
weird.
I felt confused, and I wondered a lot if my content was like worth a brand or like worth like were the numbers hollow? Were they not actually resembling who actually was rocking with me? Because there's some people at 200K that have the pull of like a million subbed people. And there's some people at 2 million. You'd be like, who? So I wanted to have a place where I could accurately like reflect where I was at, and you never really know. But when HyperX hit me up and they're like, we think you could be next up, it was a lot of lot of personal validation that somebody out there was watching.
Okay, so you've been on YouTube for years, right? You were there for the beginning era. Since day one, you were like, even through college, you're like, I want to do this. I want to make videos. I want to be a YouTuber. What advice would you give to people who look at your story and they say, oh my gosh, well, I'm in college too, right? People making millions on the internet and I want to drop out. What advice would you give to people who kind of see the outside and the end game of all the struggle that, you've went through to get here, and they kind of, you know what I mean? They're like, oh, that looks easy. I could do the same thing. Like, what advice would you give to people who look at content creation as a career-based kind of thing?
For one, if you look at my story and see how much money like can be made, just don't fucking do it. Don't do it. You will never ever be happy doing things that you don't want to do. That is the simplest. That is such a common brain thing to say, but people really don't understand it. I know a lot of people do things to make ends meet, and I respect those people because a lot of them have to make sacrifices that they don't want to do, especially parents. You know what I'm saying? People that got put in positions where their parents before they got to chase their dream. I will put it very bluntly like this. I was a kid who knew what he wanted to do at age 11. And I pursued that dream to my fullest extent. I've made sacrifices that hurt me in cataclysmic ways. I probably should have quit. The reason I did not quit is because I love my job so much that it is my identity. You could have made me be born in 1,000 different lifetimes, and each one would have tried to be this thing where I'm at right now. Unless you are that sure of where you want to be with your life, do not do anything. Go find out who you are. Go find out what you love to do, and then do it. And I know this is gonna sound like some Irwin shit from Attack on Titan, but you literally have one life to live. You will die. It is not worth a whole life, your own life, spending not chasing the thing you want to do the most and doing it to the highest extreme that you possibly can do. Like me, I wanted to do YouTube, and I want to be the best YouTuber of all time by the end of it. You could not change my mind about that. Like, you could tell me how hard it is. You could tell me how blah, 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 blah. It doesn't matter. Like, this is what I wanted to do. I had 6 credits left on my college in a master's degree on a double major that had a great job. I would have been set for life on something that I liked to do. But guess what? I didn't love to do it. I didn't wake up every day and think about it. I still spend like 6 hours just casually watching YouTube videos for entertainment that I like. I'm attached to it. I love it. I'm obsessed with it. Even when I hate it, I come back to it. Even when it makes me depressed, I come back to it because there's not a motivating factor. It's not a discipline. It is like my birthright to be attached to it. And I know I'm using like all these words and like it sounds corny, but like when you find something that you love that much to where it doesn't matter what sacrifices you give up for it, that's when you know that you should pursue it. Yeah.
I tried doing a lot of streaming too, and I find it very hard to deal with some of the trolls. And I think because I'm in the form of transitioning from like what was to what is now, like from going streaming to like 5 friends to now 300 people in the chat. and sometimes I get people commenting certain negative things, and I off rip, and it's very funny. I never pay attention to the good comments, but every time I see something negative pop up, I always address that. You got any advice for up and coming content creators that's having problem transitioning from from the what was to the what is?
Yeah, I feel like that mainly comes from people like, and I would hate to be an assumption, but using my own thing as an experience, I'm very confrontational. If someone has a problem with me in real life, I'll just ask them. I'll be like, "Do we got beef? Like, what's going on?" Like, I don't like having something in the air that I can't figure out. So I'll just bring it to you, right?
Yep.
And confrontational people have a very hard time dealing with like streams, because people will give you shit and you want to be like, "Oh, well, what's up then?" Like right now, like
God.
I'm calling you out, everybody else clear out. You know what I'm saying? But you can't do that because you're in a now instead of you as a streamer think it's like you in the middle of a room with everyone else around you. They look at it as you're on a stage and they're looking at you. So that's the dichotomy that I kind of face. Whereas like I see myself as equal to everybody in the room. Everyone else
Yep.
just happens to be looking at me. They
That's
see
how
it
I feel.
as you are on stage as a performer and I have the right to like heckle you as whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That is, you kind of have to like learn to be more inconsequential to how people speak to you. And I learned it from friends of mine who are like more meek and not confrontational, because they automatically do it. They just don't mind because they're used to just being like, whatever. You know what I mean? And while I don't agree with it in person, I still think my best way is to be confrontational about stuff. I realized that when you are going up against a lot of people, it's not in your best interest a lot of the time to be like, "Hey, motherfucker, like everybody else clear out. It's me and you right now." Because they are more right in the sense that you're a performer. You're on a stage. Like if you went on tour for your content, you wouldn't stop it if somebody was being a dickhead to you. They'd have to like really be going out of their way to be like, "Stop the show, get this guy out." You know what I mean? You have to like look at it more in a veil of like, this is not a room full of people of us hanging out. It's somebody coming to see my show.
All right, great.
Yeah.
Well, definitely appreciate you for coming on the show. You're welcome back anytime. Let people know where they can find you, your content, and also let us know what you got cooking up for us in the future.
Hey man, YourBudTevin, all places, all platforms, in your house, in your walls. Do I have anything coming up? I wish I could say we got more drinking games. We have some pretty cool events, some big content collabs, and some other stuff that I really wish I could talk about. Some branded stuff, some alcohol related stuff, some TV show related stuff, some music related stuff. There's a lot. There's a lot going on this year. Hopefully, if these people respond to DMs. But other than that, you can follow me. You cannot. I'm gonna get it regardless. Appreciate it, though.
Talk to him.
Yeah.
K. Dot, let them know where they can find you at, and Bake Lake, let them know where they can find you at.
Man, K Dot the God everywhere, every day, just doing all the godly things that you will ever need. Go ahead, Lake.
Big Lake on Twitch.
You gotta mind Bake Lake, yo. We're all
Lake,
tired.
little Big
We
Lake.
all-
Woo, yeah.
We done been on flights, all types of stuff, man. Overnight streams. Thank y'all for tuning in. I am your host, the one and only one, fleeboyjetson. You can find me on Twitter, YouTube, my main platform, and also streaming on Twitch every Wednesday to Sunday at 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. And you can also catch us right here every Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, talking about all things anime, TV shows, all types of stuff. We got a bunch of special guests coming next week. We got the creators of Captain Zero. We also got AJ from Takamichi, the Takamichi voice actor from Tokyo Revengers. So make sure you hit that notification bell, and we'll see y'all, man. Love yourself, love others, and pass that love on. Peace.